Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Thank you for joining us. I think we'll wait a few minutes to give some other people a minute to join us. And in the meantime, I want to say hi. Hi, Karen. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Lola, new member. Thank you. I truly appreciate that. I love all my members. Hi, Ridgeback Grandma. Nice to see you. B Chord Zero. Nice to see you as well. Mrs. Breaking News. Welcome. So nice to see you. I'm glad you made it to this one. I know you missed the last one I see you mentioned in chat. Well, I hope everybody's having a nice weekend. So we'll give it another minute or two. It's been kind of rainy here in Florida. Hello, Puppy. Nice to see you. Yeah, we're entering into the rainy season here and hurricane season. So last night I lost power twice, and I was working on the material for today. And when I lost power, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to do that all over again. But thankfully, my computer auto-saved my documents, so I didn't have to redo it. So that was nice. Karen, I see you tried to catch this one. I'm so glad. Hello, Thor. Here's my buddy Thor. Yes, he just came in from outside. Hello, Lucy. Nice to see you. Loki's hanging out outside because it's so warm out. But he may come in and photobomb us as he usually does, or talk incessantly, which he usually does. Hi, Welsh Pam. Nice to see you as well. Lucy, hello. Nice to see you. So, all right. Well, as usual, I'm going to go through the material today. I thought it would be fun to delve into the mind of stalkers. And so we're going to cover some of that. And then afterwards, I will join you in chat and look through and answer any questions that you have. Hello, Jordan. Nice to see you. Oh, Charleston, South Carolina. Not too far. Yes, very hot. Hot and rainy for sure. It's very hot here. Incredibly hot and humid. Actually, yesterday was our first decent thunderstorm of the year. We had been having no rain, which is not good. Hi, Shirley. Nice to see you. Thank you. I try to look good for you guys. It's not easy at my age, but I try. And wow, all the way from Scotland. Nice to see you, Shirley. Hello, Miss Sonia. Nice to see you. Yeah, so stalkers, we, afterwards, we're going to do a Q&A. And also remember, you can ask me anything, any topic. It doesn't have to be about stalkers. So we'll have a little chat afterwards. But I thought it would be interesting to talk a little bit about the topic, and maybe you could get some insight into the psychopathy of stalkers and the different types. So, reminder, while I am giving you the information, hello, Sandra. Thank you so much. I try to look good for you, for all of you. Thank you. So remember, while I'm giving you the information, I'm not looking at chat. And so I will go back into chat and scroll up and look for any questions that you may have. So go ahead and post your questions. Try to put an emoji in your question so that I can notice it as a question, or just put the word question in all caps. Something like that, that would make it easier for me, because I try not to miss any of your questions. Hello, Diggler. Thank you for joining me. So nice to see you. Okay, so pose your questions in chat for later, and then I'll answer them for you. And again, any topic, doesn't matter. We could talk about anything you want. I enjoy talking to all of you. So let's get started. So as I said, today's topic is about stalkers. And, it's interesting. One of the clinical terms that we use to refer to stalkers is obsessional follower. And that comes from the Latin word obsessoris, which means one who haunts. So I thought that was very interesting for you to look at the creation of the word stalker. So what is a stalker, or what is stalking? It's a set of behaviors involving unwelcomed, repeated, and persistent attempts to approach or communicate with another person. And the behavior is most definitely considered unwelcomed on the basis of the feelings of the victim and not the stalker. So it's based on how the victim perceives what's happening. Now, in your lifetime, 8% of women and 2% of men are at risk of being stalked. So, the media usually covers the celebrity stalkers, and they're usually defined as crazed fans. And one of them is Madonna's stalker, Robert Hoskins. He stalked Madonna relentlessly, and he was eventually confronted and shot by her bodyguard. Now, he didn't die. He was incarcerated. And to this day, he is still obsessed with Madonna, and he writes graffiti on his cell wall. He writes, "I love Madonna." And he also writes, quote, "the Madonna stalker." So celebrity stalkings are actually pretty rare. Most of the people who are victims of stalkers are regular citizens. Most people are likely to be stalked by an ex-partner. But also people in certain professions like psychoanalyst, psychiatrist, psychotherapist, they're at risk as well, because in their profession, it brings them into contact with people who are unstable, and they might misconstrue the empathy and the caring and the attention that they receive from the psychotherapist as romantic interest. So they are also at risk of being victims of stalkers. Now, most stalkers are men, and typically they are underemployed or unemployed. And they're actually found to be better educated than most other criminals. Stalkers are usually defined as isolated, lonely people, socially inept. And they're usually filled with a really inflated sense of entitlement. Now, stalkers behave, there's a range of behaviors that have been identified when it comes to stalkers. So the first category of behaviors is when the stalker follows their victim. They'll frequent the victim's workplace, their home. They'll follow the victim. They'll maintain surveillance, and they'll engineer what we call coincidences to run into the victim. So that's the first level. The second level is when they actually communicate with their victim. They'll send text messages or phone calls or emails, social media posts, letters, cards. They'll write graffiti. They'll leave gifts. And then lastly, there'll be cyber stalking. Now, often the stalker will actually order goods or services on behalf of the victim. They'll initiate what we call spurious legal actions, and they'll threaten the victim, and they'll destroy the victim's property, and even move into the severity of becoming violent with the victim. The unsolicited gifts that they send to the victim, they send flowers, they send candy, they send self-help books, pictures of the victim, sometimes even mutilated pictures, sometimes accompanied by pictures of a dead animal. So these things are meant to disturb the victim. They'll order pizza and have it delivered in the middle of the night. They'll order magazine subscriptions, plane tickets, things like that. A lot of times, the legal action that they launch against the victim is typically for the purpose of preventing the stalking victim from starting their own legal action against the stalker. The last level of stalking is when they do become aggressive and violent. They'll threaten the victim. They'll harass the victim's family. They'll make false accusations, and they'll injure, hurt, or kill, or assault, sexually assault the victim. Now, what are some of the reasons why people engage in stalking behavior? Well, like anything, it's a form of human behavior that's kind of complex, and stalkers have a different state of mind. What I believe is that stalking is best understood when we look at the relationship between the stalker and the victim. And then we look at the motivation of the stalker, and then the severity of the stalking behavior. Usually the underlying motivation of the stalking behavior can range from reasserting some sort of power over a rejected partner, all the way to a quest for a romantic relationship with the victim. Now, there are three distinct groups that are based on the relationship that the stalker has with the victim. The first, those groups are called erotomanic, love obsessional, and simple obsessional. So let's start with simple obsessional. This is where the stalker and the victim had some type of prior relationship. And this is the most common group of stalkers. And research tells us that these stalkers are the most likely to result in violence against the victim. The next group is the love obsessional group. And this is where the stalker had no prior relationship with the victim. And the celebrity stalkers actually fall into this category. And a lot of the stalkers that are categorized as love obsessional also suffer from some type of psychotic illness. The next group is the erotomanic group. And this is where the stalker develops a delusion about the victim. They believe that they're in love with the victim. And it would surprise you to know that most of the stalkers in this group are women, and their victims are typically older men that are in a higher socioeconomic group. Now, there are different types of stalkers. Not only do they have the different groups, there are different types. Those types are the rejected stalker, the intimacy-seeking stalker, the incompetent stalker, the resentful stalker, and the predatory stalker. So let's start with the rejected stalker. Now, this is the person that becomes a stalker as a result of a divorce or a separation or ending some type of relationship or some type of friendship. And they try to reconcile with their past relationship, and they try to what we call correct the rejection by exacting revenge on the person. So with a rejected stalker, there is a spectrum of behavior that they'll demonstrate. It'll start with like a tenacious clinging to the relationship. They just don't want to let the relationship go. And then it moves into more of an assertive entitlement. And it's usually of a narcissistic type. And it then moves into a paranoid jealousy. So that's our rejected stalker. The next type is the intimacy-seeking stalker. And these also fall on a spectrum. They'll fall into the category of erotomania, and they have usually morbid fascinations and rigid, very rigid obsessions. And their attraction to their victim is relentless and persistent. They will pursue their victim in that manner relentlessly. And they're fixated, literally fixated on having an intimate love relationship with their victim. They typically report that they felt like it was a meant to be relationship, that they were meant to be with their victim. Now, the risk of an intimacy-seeking stalker is low, but the stalkers that demonstrate the erotomania and the morbid infatuations can be extremely violent. So it's important to remember that. The next type is the incompetent stalker. Now, they believe that they're entitled to have a short-term sexual relationship with the victim. They stalk for a short period of time, but their behavior is very persistent. They also often have no clue that their behavior is disturbing to the victim. But those that do understand that are not at all bothered by the distress of the victim. The resentful stalker, they feel as if they've been mistreated. They're victims of some sort of humiliation or some sort of injustice that they believe that the person or sometimes an organization like their employer may have inflicted on them. And so they use stalking as a means of getting back at their victim. They want to punish their victim. Their sense of power and control is to induce fear in their victim. So that's their goal. They want to induce fear. They're very resentful and they're very threatening, and they are likely to destroy the victim's belongings, their car or their property. But they rarely move from destruction of things to overt assault on the person. They are usually troubled with some sort of mental health issue. They usually have some sort of paranoid delusion, sometimes paranoid personality disorder, or paranoid schizophrenia. So they're very unstable and they can be very dangerous. Predatory stalkers, they don't want to have a relationship with their victim. They simply get pleasure from gathering information about the victim and then fantasizing about assaulting their victim physically. Now, these types of stalkers are a special case because there's a lot of trouble in identifying the warning signs that danger is in the mix, because this type of predatory stalker is the least intrusive. And usually the victims only get a glimpse of the stalker and they just have a sense of feeling afraid. And they're typically not even sure that they're being stalked. And that's why it's so dangerous, because it's so unexpected when the stalker actually ends up physically assaulting the victim. The next category is cyber stalking. And believe it or not, although most cyber stalking victims are women, 20 to 40% of the victims of cyber stalking are men. So, and what is cyber stalking? Well, it's defined as using the internet or some other electronic device to harass and to intimidate a victim. Now, cyber stalkers typically have all of the classic stalking behaviors, like tracking someone's location, monitoring their online activity, and monitoring where they go in their real world. Some cyber stalkers even go so far as to fit a GPS tracker to the victim's car, or use some kind of geolocation spyware. And they usually put that on the victim's phone. So they'll obsessively track the victim's whereabouts through social media or through these electronic means. And their behavior is meant to intimidate the victim. And cyber stalkers can make a person's life unbearable. They'll target their victim on social media. They'll troll them. They'll send threatening messages. They might hack their email. And if they do, they'll send communication to the victim's contact list or friends or families, and sometimes even to their employer. Now, social media stalking also includes fake photographs, sending threatening private messages, spreading malicious rumors, or making false allegations. And they'll even go so far as creating what we call revenge porn and sending it, say, via an email to everybody and their brother. So They'll also engage at times in identity theft, and they'll create false profiles, and they'll create false blogs about their victim. So there's a lot of damage that can be done by cyber stalking. This is a whole nother level of stalking where years ago, when there was no electronic media, the stalkers didn't have such a far-reaching impact on people. They would have had to have stalked them locally or gone to the victim's location to perform their stalking behavior. Now, diagnostically, stalkers fit into a spectrum of people with paranoid types of disorders. The intimacy-seeking stalkers are the ones that have the erotomania delusions. And they also have typically pre-existing mental health issues and psychosis. True delusional disorders, which are common in the intimacy-seeking stalkers, can merge into an overvalued idea and a fanatical obsessiveness that they'll have or they'll develop for their victim. Sometimes stalkers have co-occurring disorders, so they use some sort of substance. There's some substance abuse in the mix. Sometimes stalkers have a history of conduct disorder when they were younger, and as they got older, criminal behavior in their adulthood. Now, most stalkers are almost twice as likely to have had previous convictions of violence. And also, of course, as I mentioned, the substance abuse disorders. Now, you have to remember that stalkers are typically defined as very lonely, distressed people. And their behavior not only wreaks havoc in their own life, but in the victim's life as well, obviously. They inflict a great deal of damage on their victims. Stalkers who are strangers and overtly mentally ill will produce the most fear in their victims. And it's the rejected stalkers who are likely to become the most violent. Now, I think it's important that you understand that stalkers will do whatever they can to make sure that their targeted victim doesn't escape their grasp. So they're very well aware in most cases that their behavior is socially unacceptable. And so they'll proceed with some level of caution because they don't want to get caught. And so they'll approach their victims typically when there's no one around, when there are no witnesses. They'll even introduce themselves under a different name, of course. They'll be anonymous. And the moment that they get to know their target, they'll start messaging the person. So when a stalker gets fixated on an individual, they'll say you meet someone for coffee, and this person has no idea that they have just met someone who has the propensity to become to stalk them. So right after meeting them for coffee, the stalker will start calling them immediately and sending emails as soon as they have met the person. They'll become very clingy, and they will get forceful in their attempts to meet up again with the person. And here's Loki. I hear you, Loki. The stalker will become very upset or aggravated if they are ignored by the victim. And they'll also create false connections with their victim. For instance, they'll tell people that they're the victim's brother or friend or coworker. Loki, come here. Come here, Loki. Come. See if he comes. Maybe we can keep him quiet. So they'll progress to following the victim around after that. And all of this happens very quickly after the first innocent meeting for coffee. These stalkers will also send threats. If the victim ignores them, they're going to be angry, and they'll progress quickly. Come here, Loki, come here. They'll progress quickly to threatening the victim. And the effect that these stalkers have on victims is very significant and can cause the victim a great deal of distress, depression, anxiety, things like that. And fear and trauma are typically the result of a stalking incident. Sometimes people will develop PTSD. They'll be afraid to leave their house. They'll be unable to get into close relationships after having been stalked. They could lose their job. It impacts every area of a victim's life. So if you or someone you know is experiencing or has experienced events and behaviors by someone that you consider to be stalking, or behaviors that threaten your safety, you need to take action. And the first thing that I want you to remember is do not engage. It might be very tempting to tell the stalker to leave you alone, but typically a stalker is going to interpret that as attention, and it will encourage the stalker to continue to communicate with you. So they'll also believe that stalking is a way to get you to communicate with them. The next thing you should do is tell someone, tell your family, tell your friends, share with them that you are experiencing this type of stalking behavior, because it creates a greater sense of safety in your life. Tell the people that you trust that you're being stalked, and see if there's any way that they can assist. But again, do not engage with the person who's doing the stalking, and don't let your friends or family engage the person doing the stalking. You need to contact law enforcement and tell them that you believe you're being stalked and that you might be in immediate danger. Most police departments nowadays actually have stalking units that deal with predominantly cyber stalking. But they will take your situation seriously. And it will help you if you record the incidents of stalking, save the email messages, save the text messages, document everything that's happening. If this person is following you or harassing you, you need to get documentation of it. Try to get video of them or photographs of them, in addition to capturing electronic communication. Get as many details as possible about the time of the incidents, the location of the incidents, of course, the date of the incident, the type of incident, because a lot of it can get quite extreme. And with that documentation, you can get a restraining order against the stalker. And if the stalker violates the restraining order, they will be incarcerated for that, for violating the restraining order. And even though a lot of stalkers don't abide by restraining orders, it's still important to get a restraining order if it gets to that level of stalking. And find in your area where you live, find advocates, find agencies that advocate, like domestic violence shelters, or call the sexual abuse hotline. They'll have very good suggestions on how you can keep yourself safe, like creating a personal safety plan. Now, as far as cyber stalking, if you're being stalked online, don't wait and hope that it's going to go away. It won't. You need to take steps to make it stop. So one time, let the stalker know only once that you do not want to be contacted any further, and make sure you send that communication in writing, and warn the stalker that if they continue, that you will seek legal action against them. Once you have sent that one-time warning, do not engage with them again. Because like I said, a lot of stalkers interpret that as attention, and they interpret it as a way to get you to communicate with them. And of course, go to law enforcement. If you think that they are tracking you with some sort of spyware, don't use your own computer or your phone to get help. Borrow a family's electronic devices or friends' electronic devices so that you can report the stalking. Because if they're hacking your system with some kind of spyware, don't use your own electronic devices. Change your passwords. As soon as you have a clue that someone is stalking you or following you or harassing you electronically, change all of your passwords so that they don't compromise your accounts. They'll drain your bank account if they can hack into it. Make sure your privacy settings on your electronic devices are set so that you can block and report the abuse. A lot of social media applications now have a section where you can report cyber stalking. If you're sent threatening emails, the stalkers don't know that if they send an email that they've given you their ISP address. So you can contact some different agencies. One of them is called abuse at the domain name that they're using. So abuse@gmail.com. You can also communicate with another agency. It's called Postmaster and their domain name. Most ISP agencies take cyber stalking very seriously. And actually in Gmail, there is a reporting mechanism that you can use within Gmail. And it's the link for that is support.google.com/mail/contact/abuse. Also set your email filters to send the stalkers emails to a folder so you don't have to read them. If you think that a stalker is going to harass you in your workplace, tell your employer so that they can be on the lookout and make sure that the person doesn't do any damage to your reputation or your job, or God forbid, show up in person. And lastly, save copies of everything, of all the communications. Take screenshots, do whatever you have to do. Keep records of your police reports, and back everything up as well onto a USB, so that in case your computer crashes or your phone gets stolen, that you have a copy of it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to chat and look at everyone's comments and see if anyone has any questions. And like I said, we can talk about anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be about stalking. So let's see what's going on in chat, okay? So I'm going to scroll back up to the beginning and scroll down. Now remember, like, try to put your question in there so that I'll notice what it is. Okay. Oh, Tracy, you had a stalker? Oh my goodness. I hope you got rid of them. Oh, you moved. Oh my. Hello, Maria. Oh, wow. So you got a camera. That's how you caught him. Excellent. I recommend at least a Ring doorbell for everyone, if you can manage that. I know they're a little bit expensive, but if you can get at least a Ring doorbell, it definitely will help. Hello, Lucy. Hi, Poppy. Oh my goodness, Tracy, the guy lived next door. Isn't that something? No wonder you had to move. It's frightening, and you never know what's going to trigger these people, what it is about you that they lock on. You know, they lock on you, lock into you. And you could just be walking past them at the mall. I mean, you could not have any communication whatsoever with the person, and they'll lock on you, and there it goes. Then they're off to the races. Hi, Anaphylaxis. Anna, you had a stalker when you were a teenager. It's scary, yeah. I don't know what he's going to do, Miss Sonia. He'll probably move on to another celebrity. I don't know. Hi, Lola. Hi, Risa. Happy Sunday to you as well. Anna, your stalker was brain damage who attached more meaning to your defending him from bullies. Oh, my goodness. Wow. How old were you, if you don't mind me asking? My goodness. Tracy, your stalker cut your washing, exposed himself. Here's Loki. Hi, come here, Loki. Come here. Here's Loki. Say hi to the friends. No, he doesn't want to. Okay, he's going to go in the window. There you go. There you go. He likes to go in the window. Hey, Loki. He cut your washing, exposed himself, and was 6 feet tall, scared you to death. Had the police move, but still scared. Aw. I'll tell you. I mean, I'm very pro gun. I'm a gun owner. Having 2 sons that are law enforcement officers. I have a gun in every room. Every time my sons come over, they bring me another gun. They got me a taser. It's pink. I have pepper spray, and I have a 230-pound dog. So you can't be too careful. You need to protect yourselves. People are unstable. Stalkers in particular, very, very unstable. You can't reason with a stalker. There is no reasoning. Usually they're their behavior is only deterred by the threat of incarceration. Yes, Stigler. Oh my God. It's so true. What's going on right now in the true crime community is appalling. There's so much gang stalking and backstabbing. It's really sad. And a lot of it is because the people feel like they're anonymous, just like road rage drivers. They feel anonymous behind the wheel of the car and they act out aggressively. It's the same thing online. People they don't use their real names and they act outrageously against other people. They do and say things that they would not do in person. It's terrible. Oh, Anna, there's a stalking statute in California. Thank God. California needs one with the celebrities. Oh, Tracy, he laughed in your face. They don't care. Welsh Pam, hi. You went no contact with a crazy person, had no choice. And he reported you. He reported you because he wanted to get the report in before you could report him. That's why they do that. They'll project their behavior onto their victim. Welsh Pam has a question. Why would a stalker flip the script accusing the victim of stalking? And that's exactly why, Welsh Pam. They will flip the script because they're attempting to avoid legal action. So they'll turn it around on the victim, and it makes it very difficult for the victim to convince others that they're indeed the victim. Stalkers are very crafty. They're very they have a lot of practice at what they're doing, and they've learned how to avoid detection, and they've learned how to redirect the blame onto the victim. Mrs. Sonia, what happens if you stalk your stalker in an attempt to drive them away? I think if you do stalk the stalker, it would be to be able to get the documentation that you need to provide to law enforcement. I don't think stalking a stalker is going to change the stalker's delusions or their intent, their motivation. Typically, in my opinion, I think they would perceive it as attention. If they knew that you were stalking them in return, they would perceive that as attention, that you want them, that you're interested in them. So if you do stalk your stalker, I would do it to document, to get photographs, to find out as much information as you can about them so that you can report it to law enforcement or take legal action against them. Oh, wow. Anna, your stalker went to the hospital for the criminally insane. I'm not surprised. A lot of times they do have severe mental health issues. And unfortunately, people with severe mental health issues, it's hard to rehabilitate them from this behavior. Yes, Lucy, I agree. Stalking is a nightmare and it can go on for years. Yes. Yes, Dana, a lot of cyber stalking in the true crime community. Tracy, your stalker followed you, the police? Told me he just passed them. Oh, my God. Wow, I'm so glad you moved. I hope he's not even in the picture anymore. They're relentless. Yours, Anna, yours was a diagnosed as a homicidal psychopath. Yeah, they're dangerous. They can be very dangerous. Hi, Colleen. You've been through that kind of relationship. A lot of times the stalker is an ex-partner. They just at first try to get the relationship back, and then when that fails, then they try to right the wrong that they feel has been inflicted on them by the ex. Hi, Karen. Yours knocked on your door and pushed his way in. Oh my God. Thank goodness my ex was at home and he left. But I would get phone calls. He'd drive up and down the street. That had to be terrifying. It makes you feel so vulnerable and helpless. It really does. Tracy, you haven't seen yours since, but when you did, he laughed. I hope you never see him again. This is like you could make a movie out of this. He cut up all your clothes. My goodness. Yes, Lucy, cyber stalkers are cowards. Absolutely. Oh, Colleen, you lost your job and he cut up your clothes too. I'm so sorry. And he put your number on sex sites. Terrible. Boy, he really was fixated on you. Caroline, enjoy your family get-together. They can drive you out of your mind. Hi, Hockey Mom, new member. Yay. Thank you. That's so exciting. Yes, Stigler, that's very good advice. Don't give your email address or phone number to anyone in the true crime community if you can help it, because some people are ending up being cyber stalked. Hi, Heavenly Clouds. So nice to see you. And yeah, Loki made his appearance. Now he's gone back outside. Yes, Loki. I'm going to have to make some Loki merch. Hello, Scouting Choir. Greetings from New York. Yes, all is well here. It's starting to rain again. Like I said, it's rainy season here in Florida. The hurricanes will be rolling in any minute. Oh, here comes Loki's back inside because it's raining. See, Tracy, your stalker said you dated. See, they'll make up. They'll say they're your brother or your friend or your coworker. They'll just make things up. Yes, Loki's stalking us. Loki, shush, shush. Okay, Tracy, I don't blame you for being afraid to leave your house. Heavenly Clouds, you broke up years ago with a boyfriend and he stalked you everywhere. You even had to have a police escort to the on-ramp of the highway. Unbelievable. They don't care how much havoc they wreak in your life. They don't care. They are completely 100% dedicated to stalking you. Oh my goodness. Yeah, they do like attention. And they'll twist it in their mind. Anything that you try to do, they'll turn it in their mind and they'll think it's attention, that you're giving them attention. Hello, Mischief the cat. Mrs. Sonia, you were stalked at university. It is frightening. Yes, and even confident women can feel terrified by stalkers. They have a lot of power, and the fear is the number one emotion that they invoke in their victims, is fear. Oh no, Anna, your father would tell him where you were? Oh, unbelievable. Loki, shush, shush, come here, come on. Unbelievable. Yes, Welsh Pam, he reported you for stalking. Wow. Oh yeah, I'm sure most stalkers have a string of victims that they have damaged along the way over the years. Absolutely. Hi, Jessa. Nice to see you. Thank God you got cameras, Tracy. Unbelievable. Tracy, if you ever see him again, I hope you have a means of protection, personal protection on you, whatever that, you know, a taser, pepper spray, something. It is Scout Inquirer. It is an important topic. That's why I thought it would be interesting for us to talk about it today, because these are complicated people. They have issues and they stalk in so many different ways. It's important to see the pattern and how the pattern progresses. Yes. You have to be so careful. And as soon as you think that someone is doing this to you, don't wait, because they won't stop on their own. Okay, you have got to take action. Hi, Grammy Pammy. Did I see your text? Did you do it wrong? Was your text a question, Grammy? I didn't see it. Let me check my phone. I don't think people have my number, just my email, but let me check. No, I didn't. If you want to, Pammy, if you want to post your question again, I'll look for it. Hi, Mia. Okay, so does anyone else have anything they want to ask me or any questions before we wrap things up today? Yes, Sonia, yes, survivors. If you've encountered a stalker and finally got free of them, you are survivors. Thank you, Mia. Hello to you too. Okay. Well, I don't see any more questions. I'll give Pammy another minute. If you want to. Mrs. Sonia, you asked about Madonna's stalker. Did you ask me what he would do if Madonna died before him? I remember that question. He would probably, in his mind, continue to be fixated on her, or he would move on in his mind to fantasize about another celebrity. That would be my guess. Oh, thank you. You know what? It does look a little bit like the necklace from the Titanic. It's not. But you're right. It does. I never thought of that. I really like it, though. Scout Inquirer for treatment for PTSD. I would go to a psychotherapist. I'm trained in EMDR therapy, which is specific for trauma victims. So I would look for a psychotherapist that does that type of therapy, because it does help enormously to move the person through the trauma, because trauma is stored in our bodies. It's physically stored in your body, and it's stored incorrectly. And that's why it when triggered, you relive it, you re-experience the feelings that are associated with the particular trauma. And EMDR therapy disconnects the emotional response to the traumatic memory, so that you are more of an objective observer of the incident and not feeling the feelings again, reliving the feelings. So EMDR therapy disconnects that link that happened when the trauma was stored in your body. So that I would look for a therapist that can give you that type of therapy. Oh, wow, Lola. You moved too. He sent you over 20 Christmas cards. Mother Mary and Jesus. Holy moly. Oh, thank you, Missy Q. She says, hit the like button. That'd be nice. Like and subscribe. I never say that. I'm the worst. I'm the worst at promoting my own channel. I don't even have any mods. It's just me. You get me. And everybody is always so kind anyway in my chat. I love you all. You're all so kind to me. And I so much appreciate you spending time with me. Yes, Yvonne, that's the eye movement. Yes. I sometimes do it with a light that the patient will track the light, follow the light. But usually I do it with my fingers, and it works. I've had a lot of patients that have been able to move through the trauma and disconnect the trauma feeling from the trauma memory. Mischief, I'm admiring all of my diplomas. Oh my God. Okay, yeah, I'll tell you how many I have. I have 2 bachelor's degrees. One is in psychology, the other is in addiction counseling. I have 3, Loki just triggered my printer. I don't know what we're going to be printing now, but Loki just, yeah. I have 3 master's degrees, 1 in psychology, 1 in marriage and family therapy, and 1 in addiction counseling. And I have a doctorate in metaphysical science. And I'm a member of the board of coroners and medical examiners. Because, of course, my former profession as a coroner. So that's one of the diplomas up there. So that's quite a few. Have a lot of student loans still. But thank you for admiring my diplomas. I am always learning and continuing my education. I think it's really important no matter how old you get. Let's see. See if I have anybody else's questions. Oh, thank you, Scout Inquirer. Thank you. I hope so. I hope that my videos help people understand the topics. Thank you, Heavenly Cloud. I love having you on my channel and joining me in my lives. And thank you, John. Okay, so I don't know. I don't think I missed any questions. I'm going to scroll to the bottom again, and then I'm going to let you all go. Yes, education is really important, and I think it keeps us young. I just turned 65 a couple of months ago, and I don't think I'll ever stop learning, honestly. Yes, Loki is the god of mischief, and he just printed nothing. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining me this afternoon. Next week, maybe I'll do part 2 of the demon possession exorcism type of series. I want to do, I have 5 parts on that. So maybe we'll do part 2 next weekend. Unless I think of something else that you, I think you might be interested in. And if you have any suggestions, please feel free to email me. My email is coronercorner@gmail.com, or just post it in the comments under the video, because I read all the comments and I try to respond to everybody's comments. And again, you're always so kind, and I so appreciate every single one of you. And I thank you very much for joining me today. And I will see you next weekend. Have a good rest of today, everyone, and have a blessed weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye all. Bye-bye.